Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. It's 2 in 2 days, so that's pretty cool. And I always appreciate the support when you guys log in and watch. So let's get right to it. So finally, James Harden was traded, and finally he's ended up with the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm gonna give my thoughts, but basically, overall, I think this trade is gonna go either one of two ways. It is either gonna be a huge success or an absolute disaster. I really don't see there being an in between, and I'm gonna break down why I feel like that. But make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below because I want to hear yours guys' thoughts on this trade. Let's get into it. Obviously, the Nets had to give up a lot to get James Harden. Just reading off my notes right here, they gave up Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Radonis Kurucs, I hope I'm saying that right, Teron Prince, 4 first-round picks, and 4 pick swaps. So basically, they gave up their young core and a lot of draft picks. So immediately, there's a lot of risk when you do that because now you're going 100% all in on this team. And it's not like James Harden is on an expiring contract. Him, Kyrie, and KD are signed to at least next season, so that's a positive. And just looking at the positives first, I mean, a combination of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden just on paper looks very, very awesome. You're throwing Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan. I really don't know the makeup of the rest. I think so. They still have Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't know the makeup of the rest of the roster, but that eight-man rotation, 7 or 8 right there. That's a really good, solid NBA rotation. I mean, that's 3 out of the top 12 players in the league on your team. Three of the greatest scorers of the all time, just pure bucket getters. On your team, so offensively, firepower wise, they're set. They're going to be fantastic. So if it hits, this is going to be a really, really, really unstoppable offensive machine. I mean, I just have a lot of doubts and reserves about this combination. I really think they're really going to have a lot of chemistry issues. I really do that. They're really, really going to have to work through. I mean, even besides the fact that James Harden is extremely, extremely, extremely ball dominant, and Kyrie likes to handle the ball. KD's the one that's most equipped to play off ball. I will say that. So I'm not worried about that. But who's really going to handle the ball the most? I feel like that's been a contentious point with Kyrie through his career, through James Harden. They've always wanted to handle the ball. And I just feel like that's going to cause some issues and some strife. I believe Steve Nash is equipped to maybe handle it. But just from that chemistry standpoint, it's really, really suspect. I really feel like they're going to have a lot of chemistry issues. I really do. And you throw on the top that James Harden is not necessarily the most motivated player in the world. He doesn't always show up in the playoffs. Kyrie is going through some off-court distractions right now that is causing a lot of media hysteria and everything like that. I just don't feel like right now this is a super focused basketball team. However, if they can get that way by May, or hell, it probably won't even take that long. Probably by like March, April, May. Just by the time the playoffs come around, then that obviously won't be an issue. But these are just some pieces that have historically not always been there from a focus standpoint. I'm not worried about KD. He's an absolute bucket getter. He loves basketball. He's committed to the game. I'm not worried about KD. It's really how do you integrate Harden into that duo. How does James Harden adjust to not having the ball in his hands all the time for the first time since he left Oklahoma City? Ever since he's been in Houston, he's been the guy, the number one guy, the absolute most ball dominant guy. And if it starts off rocky, what kind of mood are Kyrie and James Harden in all of a sudden? There's just a lot of chemistry issues. But if that was my only concern with the Nets, then I would feel fairly confident in this. But there's one issue that I had before the season, and I definitely have it now, is defensively, I don't know if this team is good enough to win an NBA championship. I really just don't. That was a concern I had coming into the year before they added James Harden. I think maybe they right now are more talented than the Bucks, but they don't have a Giannis stopper. And if you don't have a Giannis stopper or the pieces to construct a scheme to stop Giannis, then then you're not going to beat the Bucks. You're just not going to do it. Giannis is too good and too dominant. Now, obviously, if they just get into a shootout every game, but you don't want to be reliant on that. You don't want to be reliant on having to score 120 points every night to win games. And the Nets are going to beat up on, probably anybody else in the league besides the Bucks and the Lakers, but they just don't have the defensive personnel. I really feel like that matches up well with Milwaukee, especially now that you added Jrue Holiday. DeAndre Horton is not the rim protector he was. Spencer Dinwiddie's not a great defensive player. Joe Harris is not a great defensive player. They don't have anybody that I can think of on their team, and make sure you leave a comment if there is someone that I feel like is a defensive stopper. Nobody. Zero people on the roster that I can think of just off the top. That's going to get significant minutes in the playoffs. So from that perspective, they are really, when they play Boston, I think they're better than Boston, but they don't have anybody to match up with Tatum. They don't have anybody to match up with Jaylen Brown. Now I think, I don't think KD's as good on defense right now as he was when he was in Golden State, or even in Oklahoma City, especially in Golden State. KD was really good on defense in Golden State. But they also had a good scheme in Golden State, and personnel to do that, and KD's coming off the Achilles injury. It's just deep. And okay, let's just say hypothetically they get out of the East and they beat the Bucks. They don't have anybody to stop LeBron, and they don't have anybody to stop AD. They just don't have the defensive personnel, I feel like, to win and to feel confident in them winning an NBA championship. I just don't like teams that are going to have to be reliant to score 120 points in every single night to win games. Come playoff time. That's just something I'm not super confident in. Now, if this hits, if they get the chemistry right, if they can play okay enough defense, this is going to be a really, really spectacular team. I really do feel like that. If it doesn't hit, if they don't get the chemistry issues right, if they can't figure out a way to play decent defense, then this is going to be an absolute disaster. You think if they don't get it right within this year or the next year, you think that James Harden and Kyrie and KD are going to stay, who are all ring chasing? James Harden always changes the situation when he's not happy. Kyrie changes the situation when he's not happy. And then let's say those guys leave, then you're left with nothing. That will have been, you'll still owe 2 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps. You won't have any of your young guys. I mean, you're going to have to go into complete, total other rebuild. But if you win a championship and then you have to rebuild, screw it. You want a chip. That's perfectly fine. Then you're good to go. You're golden. Then it was worth it. But if you don't win a championship and you're left with this, the Clippers are kind of in the same situation. When you give up 7 picks for Paul George, yeah, idiots. But I digress. But at least if Kawhi leaves, they'll still have Paul George there. If all 3 of those, KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, were to leave, which I could see happening if they did not win a championship at any point, then you're left with nothing. So they're in a really tough situation. But I do appreciate that they absolutely went for it. They went all in. They're trying to win a championship, and I do appreciate that. And I think this is either going to be a hit, a smash hit, home run, out of the park, or it's all going to fall on its face. So thank you for watching today's video. What are your thoughts on the James Harden trade? Do you think it's going to work? Do you think it is not? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Check out all the link content. You have a great day.